Hey guys, Snowflucky here today with a new Master Duel deck profile, and it is my normal Pendulum deck that I've been playing on Master Duel. Normal Pendulum is a deck that I pretty enjoy because I like anything that involves normal and non-effect monsters, and I got a special love for it on this channel because my normal Pendulum deck in paper that I posted was kind of my first video to take off and get some views by just throwing it out into the ether. So I thought I'd kind of give an updated look at what I'm doing, make a Master Duel deck profile with it. Now this is adjusted for the list that is going to take in place at the end of August. So it's got some changes. That's most notable with the skill drain here. So with that, let's start looking at the cards. Starting with our monsters, I am playing 3 copies of Sea Dragoons of Draconia. 3 might be a little overkill for this card. I might be cutting it down to 2, but essentially, while it's one of the lowest attack normal Pendulum monsters at 200, it does have a 7 scale, which is pretty good, and has one of the better 7 scale Pendulum effects, being that when a monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon a normal monster from your hand. That combos really well with our 3 copies of Dragoons of Draconia, which once per turn, if a normal monster you control destroys a monster by battle, you can add a level 4 or higher normal monster from your hand, and he's a 2 scale, so if you got the 2 scale and the 7 scale, and you destroy a monster by battle, you can add a card and then special summon it from your hand, which is pretty nice and helps facilitate some OTKs. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Flash Knight. It's just a 7 scale with 1800 attack, so 1800 attack is a decent body, normal summonable, and while it's your least desirable 7 scale, sometimes you just need the 7 scale, so we have him. After that, I'm playing 3 copies of Metal Foe's Gold Driver. This one is mostly in here because it's got 1900 attack and is another low scale, so it helps balance it out. The Pendulum effect we don't find too useful because we're not going to play any Metal Foe's spells or traps, but it's just mostly here for the low scale and extra body. We want a large number of normal monsters in this deck for our Heart of the Underdog. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Foucault's Cannon. It's got a 2 scale pendulum and is a 2200 attack monster. Now, this is our first of the monsters that are not normal summonable, but it's got a pretty solid pendulum effect. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was activated this turn, you can target a face-up spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. I'm only running 2 copies of this because this is less useful in this build, which is kind of designed on going first, but if you don't go first, you can use that effect. Otherwise, though, we just want it for its 2200 attack. Next, Sky Dracoons of Draconia. This is probably my preferred Pendulum 7 to have in the 7 scale. It's a 2200 attack monster, so decent. Once per turn, when a normal monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. So that's pretty cool. Generates you some advantage. Gives the 7 scale, definitely one of the better ones. Next, we got 3 copies of Dragonhorn Hunter. It's got 2300 attack. Its pendulum effect being all normal monsters gain 200 attack, and you take no battle damage from battles involving normal monsters. This one's fine, perfectly serviceable to be our low scale. You do like the 200 attack. The second one effect is okay, but having a 2300, one of the highest attack bodies we can summon off of it. And of course, I'm playing 3 copies of Lan Farincus. This is the biggest normal monster in this deck. It's got 2500 attack. It's a 7 scale and pretty solid pendulum effect. If a normal monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. This is pretty good for people who are trying to set stall. You can get in more damage and end the game quicker, which is very important. And that is it for our monsters. Taking a look at the spell cards we are playing, I'm playing 3 copies of Summoner's Art. This adds a level 5 or higher normal monster from the deck to our hand, so this can add Lan Farincus, or Dragonhorn Hunter, or Sky Dragoons, or Foucaults. Sky Dragoons and Lan Farincus are usually who you're looking for the most, because they either have a large attack or are a good 7 scale to have for our Pendulum. And of course, if you already have the good 7 scale, you can use it to grab Dragonhorn Hunter and complete the scale. So very good options to have. If you like the lower monsters, you can consider running Painful Decision instead, which will send one to the graveyard and put one, but it is a super rare, and one of the nice things about this deck is, as you can see, does not cost a lot of rarities, especially because this extra deck is mostly not used, so you don't even have to really look at those or take those seriously, meaning that we only have quite a few SRs and higher, so pretty easy to build for anyone who just has a passing interest in this. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Since we're not using the extra deck, I want to generate a little extra card advantage, especially in this deck where I'm trying to go first and land one of these floodgates that helps the situation. Um, normally a Pendulum deck like this, you might not think about going first, but it happens a decent bit, and I don't know, being able to go first and win with one of these floodgates tends to be a little more reliable than playing some hand traps and hoping you still don't get negated out of the game, just because normal pendulums don't generate a lot of card advantage on their own, so it's hard to do a lot, even if you have the answers to a built-up board. But anyway, Extravagance banishes 3 to 6 of these random extra deck cards face down to draw 1 card for every 3. So we banish 6 and draw 2. It's pretty good. Now we can't use any other draw effects for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, but that's not bad because we have another draw effect, but it takes place before Extravagance. Next, I'm running 2 copies of Moon Mirror Shield. As I was playing this deck, I found one of the things that was a problem is that even with skill drain, sometimes your opponent can still just go into a monster that is bigger than 25, and it's unfortunately we don't have any normal pendulums that are really usable that are greater than 25. So for those situations where something's going to wall, we got Moon Mirror Shield. We just equip it to our monster. Its attack and defense becomes equal to the attack and defense of whatever opponent's monster it's battling, whichever of the two is higher, plus 100. Basically, this card means that that monster will always win battle. And then if this face-up card is sent from the field to the graveyard, we pay 500 life points, place this card on either the top or bottom of the deck. So it even got some recyclability. So yeah, we have that. Next is Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi. Very nice card for this deck because it helps keep the deck fueling. All non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by monster effects. That includes every normal pendulum because they're all non-effect monsters when they're on the field, so that's pretty sweet. And if your opponent special summons an effect monster while you control a face-down monster or non-effect monster, you can draw 2 cards. So that's pretty nice. Get you 2 cards. That'll get you more resources to definitely crack back, especially if they special summon something and then you play skill drain, or there can only be one and stun them quite a bit. And another reason why we want to have a good amount of these level 4 normal summonable ones is that if we don't have our pendulum scale ready to go on turn 1, or we don't want to commit to it, we still want to have something we can summon to try to benefit from this effect. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of Heart of the Underdog. During your draw phase, when you draw a normal monster, reveal it and draw 1 more card. So everything in here, all these monsters are normal monsters, so if we draw one, we just keep drawing until we get one of these. It's a very nice card to stick on board, and your opponents won't want it to stick around because they won't like seeing you have all that card advantage. And that is it for our spell card. Next, looking at our trap cards, we are playing 2 copies of Skill Drain. Now this is adjusted for the list. Before we were playing 3, but at 2, this deck's still playable enough. 2 Skill Drain means, we won't see it as reliably, but we'll also get the benefit of not seeing multiple Skill Drain as much, which is always a bad thing. We only want to see one of this card, and we only need one to win. So with 2, I'm still coping that it's playable. And of course, I just switched the 3rd copy out for another copy of There Can Be Only One, a really other powerful floodgate this deck can run. All of our monsters are different types here. We got Dinosaur, we got Warrior, we got Wing Beast, we got Spellcaster, Psychic, Beast Warrior. So a lot less punishing to us than most decks. This card makes it so that each player can only control 1 monster of each type, and if a player controls 2 more monsters of the same type, they must send some of them to the graveyard so that they control no more types. Because these decks can use these 2 cards, they're a very powerful include because these decks mostly win off of how strong these 2 cards are, with the fact that they're able to utilize them without getting punished. That's kind of how building around a floodgate works, or building around a bad deck works. So, we're very happy to have them. Any of these are a welcome addition to our field. Either negating monster effects or limiting how many monsters our opponent controls will put them in a really tight spot. There can only be one, of course, is not great in every matchup. So, if you're not liking it, you can think of a card like Summon Limit, because even though you're summoning a lot of monsters, you're usually only doing so through a Pendulum summon and then maybe a normal summon, so Summon Limit won't hurt you that bad. But things to keep in mind. But these are what I'm playing, and it seems to be working pretty well. Looking at the extra deck, there's not too much to talk about. You see a lot of things in here. Most of them are my good Waking the Dragon targets, like Last Warrior from Another Planet, Blackwing Full Armor Master, and Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, in case I wanted to include that. Now I'm not, so really the only ones to talk about that are worth mentioning is Link Spider. Link Spider is pretty good because it's just a Link 1 monster that requires a normal monster and allows you to special summon a level 4 from your hand. That's kind of nice for Link climbing. And the Link 2s, however, are the most important. Lanfarincus, it's a non-effect monster, so benefits off of Flawless Perfection, and of course has the two little arrows pointing to the left and right, which allow it to summon 2 Pendulum monsters from the extra deck. In addition, we also have Defender of Labyrinth, which does that. It has got the good arrows and requires 2 normal monsters. Now this one is definitely better than Lanfarincus because non-effect monsters you control gain 500 attack. Of course, what you have to account for in this deck is that if you have Skill Drain or Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi, you're not going to get that effect. But you will still get this effect, well, not under Skill Drain, but under Flawless, you'll still get the second effect, where all your effect monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack. And then if this card in its possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target a non-effect monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So that's pretty cool. Especially cool if you decide to run Painful Decision for the low-level ones. And the beautiful thing is this card is a low rarity, so that's pretty cool. Another card that's definitely worth talking about, Draco Masters of the Tenyi, is a pretty solid boss monster if you don't have Skill Drain up. It cannot be destroyed by battle with an effect monster. It's got 3 good Link arrows, which is good for Pendulum summoning out a lot of guys. And you can destroy effect monsters your opponent controls up to the number of non-effect monsters you control and are in your graveyard, which can be a lot of cards, especially if you make him and then Pendulum summon out a bunch of materials, especially ones from the extra deck to all the zones it points to, and then destroy a lot of cards. All good options to have. Additionally, we got things like Berserker the Tenyi, which is just a 3000 attack non-effect monster, you know, things that benefit off Flawless Perfection and things like that. Not too important. Like I said, most of the time you're using your extra deck for extravagance fodder, but if you got some things in the graveyard, going into a Defender and then Pendulum summoning just to get more bodies on the field is a very worthwhile strategy. And that's it for the deck. So here's a little replay of the deck in action. We're going first against our opponent, who's playing Shadal / Good Stuff deck. And this hand is an alright opener. It would be great if we had a monster we could normal summon, but unfortunately we're stuck with 2 low scales. The Moon Mirror Shield is nice, and these 2 cards are always cards we want to see. We are going first, so we're just going to set Skill Drain and pass the turn. A little rough, but with Skill Drain we can probably stop our opponent from summoning enough monsters. They play Magical Meltdown, so they're going to get Alistair here. They're going to grab Alistair. They're going to summon Alistair, try to search their card. I'm going to flip Skill Drain, just say no. Don't want to search Magical Meltdown. They will play Fusion Destiny from the hand, getting a Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Now luckily, because Luckily, Skill Drain does negate Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer's ability to pop cards, otherwise we didn't be in a bad situation. They poke for some damage, pretty good, but we draw Flash Knight. This is a monster we can normal summon, but more importantly, Flash Knight is actually a 7 scale, so since we have it, we're going to Pendulum summon our bigger monster. We're going to attack over Alistair for some damage, because this card's going to get destroyed at the end phase anyway. Then, to ensure that we don't get just run over, we are going to equip Moon Mirror Shield to our full Cult's Cannon. This will allow it so that they can't beat it by battle. So they can't beat it by battle, they can't use monster effects, and when they special summon DPE here, an effect monster, I'm going to draw 2 cards, and that's a lot of monsters. So they're going to play Shadal Fusion, send 2 things from the hand because this was not special summoned from the extra deck, so they can't use materials from the deck. They're going to summon their El Shadal. I'm not even going to try to say that one. They're going to target Skill Drain, try to negate it, but Skill Drain's negating it. Their Shadal effects in the grave will resolve, setting a dragon and another face down. Dragon we have to keep in mind, because if Dragon gets destroyed by a card effect, they can pop Skill Drain, which would be very bad. They run Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer because they didn't read Moon Mirror Shield. Then they summon it, give us 2 more cards. We're able to play Extravagance, which is nice. We're going to Summoner's Art, grab another Lanfarincus. Now we got all these monsters, and there can be only one. Now there can only be one is not so good in this matchup because we have a bunch of different types on our opponent's board. Now we're going to summon a bunch of cards here. Bunch of monsters. We're going to attack over DPE first, and before we clear the rest of their board, they are going to scoop in the futility of having to come across this wave after wave without being able to out Skill Drain. So again, Skill Drain's a powerful card, wins us the game, allows us to play a deck like this. I'm cool with that. So that is it for my normal Pendulum deck profile. Just thought I'd throw this out there because I definitely enjoy playing this deck. It was very easy to pick up and just add to the rotation since so many of these cards were cheap, and things like Skill Drain and Teak Boo I already had for other decks. So very awesome. It's not a deck I would recommend trying to reliably climb to high rank with. You can definitely play this through low ranks, silver and gold, pretty easily. And of course, you can always play it casually. Just another fun thing to add to the rotation for anyone who likes normal monsters, pendulum strategies. Very low dust investment, and I like that. A lot of work on this deck to be done going forward. It should probably be looked into doing a dedicated going second version and things like that. So I'll post updates as I go along. Just want to throw this baseline of what I'm playing with now, and we'll see where we go from here. So let me know what you think. Love to know what you do with normal pendulums. Throw around some ideas here of how we can advance this strategy. And I appreciate you checking out the video. I'll catch you all in the next one.